The federal government is developing a targeted electricity subsidy to protect vulnerable Nigerians while ensuring the sector's long-term financial sustainability, according to the Minister of Works, Adebayo Adelabu. Now, speaking at the Nigeria Energy Forum in Lagos, he announced reforms including minimum capacity adequacy requirements for DISCOs, unbundling of the transmission company of Nigeria into NISO and TSP, and major grid expansion under the Presidential Power Initiative. Over 700 megawatts of new capacity has been added, with phase one set to deliver about 7,000 megawatts. Now, Nigeria has also begun exporting solar panels to Ghana and is mobilizing over $2 billion for renewable projects. Adelabu urged private investors to seize emerging opportunities in the power sector. So we will be discussing this with Professor Yemi Oke, who is a senior advocate of Nigeria, a professor of law, and one of Africa's foremost authorities in electricity law and regulation, energy resource law, and oil and gas, minerals, and mining law, including international environmental law. That is our guest for today. Thank you so much, Professor Oke, for joining us.
Thanks for having me, and do have a good morning. Good morning, Nigerians.
So now, how will the federal government's targeted electricity subsidy protect vulnerable households without distorting market efficiency?
Thank you again. There's nothing new in the policy measures announced by the Minister of Power, a very good friend, Chief Adebayo Adelabu. It's nothing new in the sense that we've always had it as part of the old regime. Under the now repealed Electric Power Sector Reform Act, we have in there a statutory provision for PCAF. PCAF is Power Consumer Assistance Fund. A pool of fund targeted at low-income earners, poor Nigerians, underprivileged Nigerians, to be able to consume electricity so that they're not in darkness. That was the intention of PCAF. But under the old law, the repealed Electric Power Sector Reform, with Lamont, we drew government attention, stakeholders' attention to the fact that PCAF needed to be in place. So PCAF was never operated, it was never operationalized, so it was part of the law. Gladly, PCAF is retained in the Electricity Act of 2023. What the minister has said, according to my own view, based on my own view, I'm not speaking for the minister, is to evince a clear intention that Power Consumer Assistance Fund, which have always been part and parcel of the regime of electricity governance in Nigeria, will not be effectuated, meaning government will now start to put measures in place to start implementing PCAF. PCAF would target low-income earners, vulnerable Nigerian civil servants, to be able to mitigate whatever hardship in electricity tariff adjustment. That is intentional. But there is a challenge. The challenge of PCAF is that you can't have effective implementation of that important framework unless and until you've done a comprehensive enumeration of consumers, then to now determine which and what categories of those consumers will qualify for PCAF. Two, you must have meters in place. Without effective metering, adequate and effective metering, you can't recalibrate to capture low-income earners who will benefit from PCAF. We don't want to misapply PCAF like the previous regime or the kind of regimes we have in the energy sector, which gives subsidy to those who never even needed subsidies in the first instance, like the petroleum subsidy that we had that was giving subsidy for even the rich, and some people were taking advantage of that to divert petroleum products. So PCAF must be carefully implemented. It's a welcome development. It's not new. Honestly, that's the way to go. It makes the market liquid.
Okay.
It enables the market to be competitive because GISCOs and GENCOs will be able to charge reasonably fair rates for what they are generating and distributing. And that will address to an extent the liquidity challenges that we have in the power sector.
Okay, so let's equally now look at how significant Nigeria's power exports, most especially of locally produced solar panels now, to Ghana for regional energy trade and industrial competitiveness would come by the reason of these new developments.
Yeah, well, that to me is a political statement, to be honest with you. I mean, and not blaming the minister for saying that. What we're doing in terms of export of solar panels to Ghana and other countries is insignificant in my view, because we don't have local self-sufficiency in solar production as we speak in Nigeria. We still import a whole lot of component of solar. We've advocated extensive solarization policy for development so that solar panels become a kind of household thing. A lot of Nigerians are still in need of solar panels, and they don't have it, they can't afford it. So how can you start to export something that you don't have in abundance? So that's one. Two, from the point of view of business, because of the market integration that is happening at the level of Africa, that is expected. It doesn't matter whether you produce or manufacture solar panels in Nigeria, you can sell it anywhere, because there is a free market economy now that we run in Africa, commendably, because of the African free trade zone agreement, tariff agreement that we have in place. So that opens up the African market. So a manufacturer can manufacture solar panels in Ghana and easily sell to Nigeria. And that wouldn't qualify Ghana as exporting solar panels to Nigeria. We've just been able to attract a chunk of the market that's available in Nigeria. Ditto for Nigeria selling in Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana. A lot of Nigerians are trading. I see that as Nigerians trading extraterritorially, which is commendable. But that wouldn't really be sufficient as to classify as or categorize same as Nigeria now exporting solar panels. No. Well, recently, the government just deployed a policy to stop importation of solar panel components to Nigeria. I commended that policy initiative.
Okay.
But we haven't attained that level of self-sufficiency in solar panel manufacturing to be able to categorize Nigeria as a net exporter of solar panels to African countries. No. That's why I said that's a political statement, with all due respect to my friend.
Okay, so let's tie the issue around self-sufficiency to the Presidential Power Initiative. I mean, you talked about PICA the other time, and we understand what that can do in terms of electricity subsidy. But then what progress has been made, according to what you've seen so far, under that PPI? And how do you think it would improve national grid reliability?
Yeah, well, honestly, I was also reading about it. I granted a couple of interviews on presidential initiative as well as the presidential initiative from power. There are so many initiatives that all aim at increasing our net access to power, and as well as reliability of the grid infrastructure that we have. I acknowledge the fact that we've had significant scaling up of production. I mean, to the realm of, if not of the 700 megawatts that the Honorable Minister mentioned, then I would say 500 plus net. And then if you have the cumulative effect of off-grid solutions that we're deploying, like solar and renewables, and then you'll be talking of something really significant to an extent. So that, to me, shows a kind of northward movement in terms of scaling up assets and production capacity, particularly in terms of grid. That's reliable. Two, there are other things we also need to do as a country. We need to start to rejig the framework that enables state governments to also go into generation, transmission, and distribution. Nothing significant is happening at the level of the states. Subnationals are not really, to the best of my assessment as an industry player, we've not seen the subnationals taking the boost that it was, getting into this sector, attracting the kind of investors that we expect to scale up things at the level of the state. We can't continue a federal state structure. I've even advocated the balkanization of the national grid because it's so weak, so unreliable, because the world is going upgrade. We can't be going downgrade when the world is going upgrade. So, and one way of achieving that is to encourage the subnationals to go extensively upgrade so that the grid capacity is enhanced, is revitalized, grid expansion is done at optimal level. That will still not be sufficient for the kind of megawatt, quantum of megawatts we require in the country.
Professor Oke,
to go is upgrade. And that.
Yes, I just needed to button because we're trying to wrap up on this, but then just wanted to get your opinion on when you said that subnationals are not really attracting the needed investment at their own level into the energy sector. Does it mean that it's not a priority for them, or maybe there are some people who have vested interest and are benefiting from the lack in power supply in the country?
Well, I don't want to speak for any of the states, but I'm aware that a couple of states, very few of them have started the kind of a display of a kind of body language that is acceptable to us as industry players. I don't want to mention states, but we see states like Lagos, Sabia, and the rest, even in Kitty and others, they're trying, maybe they're trying to, the kind of body language that suggests that they're interested in taking steps in that direction. Some states have not even started. Some have not even asked to exceed the regulatory structure of the NISO. So they've not. So to that extent, and these states have competitive advantages in the various aspects of power. Some have their competitive advantage in wind, some have in solar, some have in renewables, some have in mini hydros and mini grids and all those options. What we're saying that the states players, the subnationals should, in line with their statutory obligation under the electricity and constitutional laws, constitutional provisions to system nutrition, they should start to do something. And that will free up the national grid so that things will start happening at the level of the state. And cumulatively, Nigeria, of course, will get better with that.
All right. Thank you very much, Professor Yemi Oke, MSc Energy Electricity Law at the University of Lagos. And of course, you have a very rich portfolio, I must say. It was nice having you talk to us at this time on the show.
My pleasure, always. Thanks.
All right. You're welcome.